Hi, everybody. Welcome to the pre-show. We see Seattle checking in. Stingrays up there. Blake Middleton saying hi from the land of 10,000 frozen lakes. John Schaefer near Gary Jobson in Annapolis. Gary standing by there will be with us in a moment. We're here, of course, in Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco. Matthias Collins down in South America. Gordon Smith in Denmark. And a couple is where he says it's a very soggy Denmark. A couple of dozen others. Ted Ryman at Cape Town, South Africa. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to show number 493. Let's get this on the road.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to show number 493 for the 4th of February, 2022. And Julia, I trust you are well.
Indeed.
Any hot tips before we get going?
Not really today.
It's a fine day here in San Francisco.
It is.
Mark Michelson says it's a fine day up in Idaho, Eagle, Idaho.
Eagle Eye.
To all of you all around the world, whether you're down under where it's where it hits bloody Saturday already in Auckland and in Sydney and beyond. Those of you late at night in Europe, thanks for joining us for what is, I'm sure, going to be a very special show because we have Gary Jobson with us standing by patiently in Annapolis. He's got a tie on, his New York Yacht Club tie and blazer, because we're going to be announcing, we're going to be bringing to you the Rolex, the U.S. Sailing Rolex 2021 shortlist for the Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year. Gary, welcome.
It's nice to be both with you, Tom and Julia. Although I must say it's a rainy winter day here in Annapolis, Maryland.
How much snow did you get?
We haven't gotten any snow. It all melted here. It's just blowing hard and rainy.
Good. Well, stay warm, stay safe. I know they've got a pile of it up in Michigan, where, of course, as you know, I'm from. Gary, we met, Julia, I guess we had a brief tech check, but Gary and I met 50 years ago, right about now, college sailing in 1972. It's hard to believe, Gary.
That's
the 50 years went by fast. An awful lot's happened, and you were sailing with Bruce Nelson for the University of Michigan. And if I recall, you won the Sloop National Championship that year out in Newport Beach.
We did, racing head-to-head with you in the what were they? Shield sloops, I think. Newport Harbor Yacht Club.
They were Shields.
And we raced. It was down to the wire between us, but we had a good year in '72. Bruce won, I think, the dinghies. We won the teams. The Midwest did. And eventually, not in '72, but in '73, we finally came to your hometown of Annapolis and won the Kennedy Cup. And do you know that we were the first team ever to win the Kennedy Cup at the Naval Academy in Annapolis and not get invited back the next year?
Oh, that's terrible.
Is there? I suppose there's.
Say again, Gary.
I don't know why they didn't want you back. You
Well,
champs.
we were, shall we say, we were misbehaving. Let's get into the show today, number 493. Welcome to all of you. A lot of folks on here already. Julie Aaron's in Cleveland. Bob Schmetter is on in Ocean Reef down at Key Largo. Ken Saban in Toledo, Ohio. Bill Wingrove, nice model of Courageous behind Jabo. What's the model there, Gary?
That's 12 US 26 Courageous.
On which you and Ted Turner won the America's Cup in 1977.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. We're on our 45th year since then.
This day in history, too, Julia, we talked a little bit about it, is there's a 35th anniversary of a famously good America's Cup win today. We're going to talk about when we get to this day in history. Guy, I call him Guy Briere. Gary, he's asked me to remind you that the real proper pronunciation, you probably call him Guy, too. It's Guy Briere in New Orleans, past Commodore of that prestigious Sainted, I should say. That's a good thing to say. The Sainted Yacht Club in New Orleans, since the New Orleans Saints.
They've got great spirit down there in New Orleans, and Guy / Guy is a great man.
Yeah.
He is indeed, and I know you're a big fan of what used to be the Washington Redskins football team. And they've got a new name now.
They do. It's the Washington Commanders. I'm getting used to it. It's not bad. It's a nice tribute to the military. There was a rumor around town it was going to be the Admirals, but we'll take the Commanders.
I think so better.
To all of you here in the States, at least, belated Happy Groundhog Day. That was a couple days ago, and the groundhog, Puxatawney Phil, you know the mythology. Snow was still on the ground Wednesday in the Philadelphia region. Puxatawney Phil, Gary, right in your neighborhood, doesn't expect things to change for the next 6 weeks. The nation's most popular marmot saw his shadow Wednesday morning after scurrying out of a burrow at Gobbler's Knob in Puxatawney, Pennsylvania. As the legend goes, that means the country, our country, can expect below average temps for the next 6 weeks. Do you know how accurate, Julia, this
40%.
You're right, 30. Wow, you're just the full of wisdom here. Since 1887, Phil and his predecessors have predicted more winter 104 times and called for 20 early springs, according to Stormfacts Almanac. Where's Mark Michelson when you need him? No records exist for 9 years. Life Science did an analysis of the data and concluded that Phil's 6-week predictions have been correct just 39% of the time.
Sorry.
You were spot on, Julia. Well, what's a percent among friends?
Yeah.
Now, do you know, Gary, Julia, do you know what day today is?
Only because
it's February 4th, and there's a big event happened 35 years ago.
Yeah, but we'll get to that in this day in history. But you know what is celebrated today? It's an international holiday, or a celebration anyway. This is your first clue. I'm not kidding. It is International Working Naked Day. And it's celebrated in various countries. Look at Gary. Look at his. He's going, oh no, Rolex is going to love this. International Working Day is celebrated in various countries, and it's not what you think. It's not that you're supposed to work naked at home, but it celebrates the freedom and flexibility employees get when they work from home, which, of course, Gary, you largely do. I do. Julia does. The topic is debatable, but there are some core factors that cannot be denied. Commuting is eliminated, which accounts for a good percentage of daily stress. Also, one doesn't have to worry about lunch or coffee. Well, you have to fix your own. Let's not forget that a professional wardrobe is traded for slippers and house clothes. Gary, I won't ask you what pants you have on now, but I do come to work in my bathrobe more often than not. I will admit to that. According to Lisa, this is the gal who founded this holiday, the idea of working naked is different for everyone. For some, the very idea makes them feel naked with no close by to quickly ask for help when stuck. No one close by, but it generally refers to the most comfortable clothing to wear while sitting down for work. Gary, last word to you.
Well, I when I think of nude, I think of the Sailing World magazine's nude regattas, National Offshore Wind Design regattas, but working nude. But I've been up here in my pajamas a few times over the years.
Well, as I say, I have a nice New York Yacht Club bathrobe and a Golden Gate Yacht Club bathrobe that I alternate, come in here, and that's too much information. I'm sure.
TMI. Yeah.
Regardless, happy working naked day. It's not about working naked. It's just about working really from home. And I guess they thought they'd get more clicks if they used that.
And of course they would.
Then they would. Indeed, they would, Julia. Let's get into our primary, our raison d'etre today. We're delighted to have Gary with us. As I said, a longtime friend of FOSI. He's been on the show, I don't know, a handful of times over the years. Talking about the National Sailing Hall of Fame, talking about many other things. Past president of U.S. Sailing, former vice president of World Sailing, former winner of the America's Cup, as we mentioned. But also, Gary, you've been chairing the Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year festivities for U.S. Sailing since as long as I can remember.
Well, I don't think I'm the chair, but I've been the master at ceremonies for quite a long time, over 30 years now. And I think my first luncheon I attended was about 1968. So I've witnessed it and been part of it for quite a long time. And happily, in 2021, we got some racing in so we can have a winner. You might recall, due to the COVID pandemic, we were unable to have a Rolex Yachtsman and a Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year because nobody went sailing. But this year there was plenty of activity around the waterfront in the United States, and today we're going to announce who the finalists are for the 2 respective awards.
Well, let's get into that in what we call the starting line portion of our show, the A block, and it is indeed the Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year Awards, the announcement of the shortlist, the nominees for 2021 for their exploits and esteemed performances last year, 2021. This is formally called the U.S. Sailing Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year. The nominations were opened in November. Sailors from across the country and perhaps beyond sent their nominations to U.S. Sailing in Bristol, Rhode Island. Here's the release from November 17th. Every major sport has their own iconic award to recognize and celebrate excellence. College football recognizes the most outstanding player of the year with the Heisman Trophy, and MLB, Major League Baseball, honors their best pitchers of the season with the Cy Young Award. U.S. Sailing honors the top performing sailors with Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year, widely acknowledged as the premier individual sailing honors in the nation. The nomination period opened in November. As I said, fans nominated male and female sailors who they believe turned in the most outstanding on-the-water performances during the 2021 calendar. The award was established in 1961 by U.S. Sailing's predecessor, the U.S. Yacht Racing, well, it was actually North American Yacht Racing Union, Gary, in those days, and
Right.
Sponsored by Rolex Yacht USA since 1980. I was actually the chair in those days. 80, when I was executive director, that was a task that fell to you as the executive director of what was then, by then, USYRU. But Rolex has been one of the best, if not the best, sponsors in the sport, including for this award, and recognizing the individual male and female U.S. sailors, as well as, Gary, we said Canada and the world sailing and a few other countries, we think. But those sailors who have demonstrated on-the-water excellence at international and or national events. As Gary said, there was no award for 2020, but in 2019, the International 505 World Champions Mike Martin of Mill Valley here, just across the bridge, and Adam Lowry, also here in the Bay Area, and IKA Formula Kite Class World Champion Daniela Moroth, who's from Lafayette and over in the East Bay, who is a nominee, we think, again this year, we'll get into that, were selected as Rolex Yachtsmen and Yachtswomen of the Year for their remarkable sailing performances in 2019. Gary, these names are just, it's an honor roll of champions in this country like virtually none other, except maybe the America's Cup and the National Sailing Hall of Fame. Previous recipients who have earned the honor multiple times, include Ed Adams, Betsy Allison, Sally Barco, Dave Curtis, Dennis Conner, J.J. Fetter, T. Hutch, Terry Hutchinson, your neighbor in Annapolis, Allison Jolly, John Kostecki, Buddy Malgus, Lowell North, Jan O'Malley, Jane, who's a, by the way, we should talk about Jan for a minute. She's often on here watching the show. Jane Pagel, Kenny Reed, Corey Sertle, the immediate past president of U.S. Sailing, two-time winner, Lynn Shore, Judd Smith, Jody Stark, Anna Tunnicliffe, and of course, Gary, your old mate, Ted Turner.
And Ted won it 4 times. It was quite an achievement.
What about this list?
Allison, I think, won it 5 times.
What about this list in general?
Well, when you read down the list, and you can find it on U.S. Sailing's website, it's really quite an extraordinary testament to American sailors, and it's a wide variety of people that have raced going around the world, and the Cup, and Olympic medals, and World Championships, and set records. But you look at it since 1961, anybody that has won this award can feel quite proud. Of course, then they have a responsibility to be an ambassador for the sport because you are a Rolex Yachtsman or Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year. And the winners do receive a Rolex. There we go.
Yeah.
You win it. Rolex is presented. I'm not sure the date this year. I think it's going to be sometime in the end of March when they announce who the winners will be. But I know that it will be streamed live at a luncheon or a dinner. So that's coming up in a month or so.
Yeah, I think talking with Josh Tozo at U.S. Sailing yesterday, he's not quite sure on the date or the locale. It's been back and forth between New York Yacht Club and St. Francis Yacht Club over the recent years, but it could be other places as well. Gary, a lot of your friends, our friends checking in, the Fosey, Mark Wharton Reed, hello, Tom, Julia, Gary from Michigan. He's saying the Commanders are going to be known as the Commies. Let's go Commies.
I hadn't heard that, but that's a good one.
Jay Rendell is watching from White Bear Lake up in Minnesota, where you have visited. I think Gary's visited every yacht club in the country at one time or another. Baton Rouge, Baton Kennan down in Charleston. Tell Gary my first sailing book was The Racer's Edge.
Thank you.
John Emmett, Daniela should win hands down. Well, we'll see, John. We'll see who the nominees are, let alone who the winners are. Bill Wingrove, Jeff Linton from DI, Davis Island Yacht Club, won a Rolex back in 07. And the list we just read off, Bill Wingrove and others, are the multiple winners. There are lots of other winners over the now, 40 plus years, 80, 60 years. 60 years, right, since 1960.
It's 62 years, I think. Wow. This will be the 62nd time.
Gary, Marcos Feinstein, who you know well down in SoCal, is asking, how is Ted Turner's health?
Well, we saw Ted out in Montana in September. He's doing okay. He's struggling a little bit with something called Lewy body disease, which has got a little dementia and Parkinson's. But he was out fly fishing, and we had some good walks, and he's doing okay.
Good.
Alex Kent is saying Ted got his sailing start at our high school, McCallie, on Lake Chickamauga, as did I. I guess we're talking about Ted Turner. Great guest today, Clayton Allen Embley, is saying Alistair Murray down in Melbourne. Normally, hi, Alistair. Up early in the morning. It's only 7:15 down there. Heartiest congratulations to Gary for his incredible contribution to our sport over such a long period. Gary, nice.
Thank you.
You know Alistair well.
Thank you, Alistair.
Jody Shields down in north of Sydney up at Lake Macquarie. Wanji, Julia. Are Jimmy Spittle and Tom Slingsby eligible to win? There's a good question, Gary.
They are not. It's American sailors, and but Jimmy's won the World Sailor of the Year, and Slingsby has too, and they're Australians, and they qualify there.
Bob Schmetter is saying hi to my good friend Gary Jobson, quite wonderful in so many ways. Marcos is saying thanks for the comment about Ted. Bernard Schopfer, long time. Bernard from Switza, from Switzerland. Greetings, Gary. Jack Sutton, let's go, Coach Connor Bluen. He's cheering for Connor Bluen, who is possibly a nominee. That guy's a beast. Hope you're doing well, Gary. Mark Wharton Reed is saying, another good Michigan boy. Let's get on with the awards here. We'll shift over to Bravo Zulu, unless, Gary, you have anything else to add.
No, but I kind of like the prelim lobbying that goes on. We haven't even announced the list yet. Of course, this is the short list, and the winner will come out of this in a month or so.
Indeed. Well, let's get into it. Bravo Zulu to all of those nominated, because like the Oscars, just to be nominated is a big deal, right, Gary?
It is. It's very hard. There was a long list of people. And I should emphasize one last thing, Tom, that this is for a performance in that calendar year, 2021. So it's not a lifetime achievement. It's performance in the calendar year.
Okay, and here is the first nominee. We're going to go alphabetical. Julia, women, ladies first. We're going to go alphabetical, the 4 women that have been nominated.
Uh-huh.
And then alphabetically, the 5 men that have been nominated for, as Gary said, those 2 separate awards. All set?
All set.
Here we go. The first one, alphabetically, the drum roll, please. Nico Brio from San Francisco, St. Francis Yacht Club.
Yes.
St. Francis Yacht Club, U.S. Women's Match Race Champion. She was 4th at California Dreamin' Series. She sailed in the Ficker Cup, a match race regatta. 2nd at Block Island Race Week in a J105, and 4th at the J105 North Americans, which were held here in Annapolis. Certainly a good candidate.
Yeah, and she's been really, really strong on the match racing circuit as well. Of course, we know her being here from the Bay Area, from San Francisco, on our Julia's home yacht club. I yes. count one of Gary's other favorite clubs. You know what Gary's other favorite club besides Annapolis and New York and the 15 other clubs that he's a member of, including my second favorite, which is the GOAT Club, Fort Worth Boat Club.
Yeah.
You know what Gary's and my favorite club is, aside from all those? Balboa Yacht Club.
Uh-huh.
Gary's been a terrific supporter of the Governor's Cup and Andy Rose and that whole production down there, right, Gary?
Yeah, Andy Rose is a hero in our sport and not recognized enough. I mean, America's Cup tactician, but what he's done with the Governor's Cup, and he's really fostered match racing with a lot of young people from around the world. So 3 cheers, Andy.
Indeed. I hope he someday gets the Herreshoff trophy for all he's done. That's the big contribution award. You've got some influence on that, and even I in a much smaller way, but maybe we can talk the powers that be, Gary, into considering Andy for that. Okay, so bravo Zulu to our first female nominee, the shortlist now, Nicole Briot from San Francisco. Here's the second one, Gary, Laura Grunden, who is from West Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah, Laura, Yale graduate. She's been in the sport for quite a long time. She owns and steers her own boats, and she does get good crew to race with her. She got 6th at the J70 North Americans this year, beating, by the way, a long list of great sailors. She was a 3rd at the J70 World Championships. The Melgas 24 Bacardi Cup, she was the December champion. She was 2nd in the Melgas 24 in the Bacardi Cup. In January, she's 2nd at the Melgas 24 Gold Cup. She won Block Island Race Week last summer and was 1st at the New York Yacht Club IC 37 Leukemia Cup Regatta, something that I've been part of for a long time. And she finished 4th at the IC 37 New York Yacht Club Annual Regatta, New York Yacht Club member. And it's great to see her on the list. You know, she's been doing so well for so long, and to see Laura get nominated here is really special.
Couldn't agree more. And of course, she went to Yale, if memory serves, with J.J. Fetter back in that era. J.J., who's a multiple winner, and from down in San Diego. And I think Laura's now a member in New York and perhaps a couple of maybe Yale Corinthian Yacht Club. Yuk.
I'm sure she's got to be part of the Yik.
You know, we like to recognize clubs here because it's the clubs that are, as Gary and I have been saying, Julie, you've been saying for years,
Absolutely.
The heart and soul of the sport. And that's why we love to mention them and let people know where they are from. And Laura Grunden is another terrific candidate for this year's U.S. Sailing Rolex Yachts Woman of the Year. The 3rd female candidate is another Bay Area alum and St. Francis Yacht Club member, Daniela Moroz, who's I think won it, Gary, 2 times already?
She has. She is young, and she's a 2-time Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year and deservedly nominated once again. And, you know, we saw a few people lobbying on her behalf before we even made the announcement. She is the Kite Foil Women's World Champion, the Formula Kite Women's European Champion, and sometimes they say the Europeans is harder than the Worlds. Anyway, she was 6th at the U.S. Open, but the top female amongst that group, and 9th at the U.S. Open San Francisco, again, the top female within that group. And she's currently ranked 6th for women in the world for Formula Kites. And I've done a few interviews with her over the years. She's terrific, very well spoken, great fun. I did ask her one time, do you race laser or later radio? No, I just sail kites. Okay, very good. But she sure is good at it. And with kites coming into the Olympic Games here in the near future, maybe she has a shot to represent the United States if she keeps her current skill level up.
Gary, what do you think of the kites in the Olympics? You were on U.S. World Sailing's executive committee when that decision was made. And are you a big supporter of the kites? Do you think they should be their separate federation like our old friend Paul Henderson says? Or how do you think this will go in Marseille?
Well, look, the idea of the Olympics is to have diversity of the sport, and kites is a growing part of the sport. A lot of people participate and like it. Personally, I've gone kiteboarding exactly once. I found it not so easy, but it is exciting to watch. It'll be a new element. And commentating on it, I've commentated on kiteboarding a few times, and that's a challenge too. The challenge when you get 2 kites with their strings crossed, and then they go from fierce rivals to best friends trying to unwrap themselves. Kind of funny.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell them apart.
Okay, shall we go to our next nominee, the fourth and final of the females? And of course, it is alphabetical, so people can probably figure out who has not yet been named among the very top sailors in the last year. This, of course, is Anna Weiss. Grew up in Lauderdale. I assume she is from Lauderdale Yacht Club, but she could also be a member of, I think she's sailing a lot in Long Beach, Gary. Long Beach Yacht Club, maybe Alamitos Bay.
Well, Anna Weiss represented the United States at the Olympic Games in Tokyo and Hiroshima last summer. She was a crew in the NACRA 17. That's the mixed class. They ended up in the medal race, finishing 9th. And she's been very active in the Sail GP, finished 2nd as a crew in the Australian Grand Prix, and sails with the U.S. team. And I'm sure you'll see her when the Sail GP comes to San Francisco, Tom, in a little over a month, I believe.
Yeah, the end of March, the last weekend in March, they'll be here in the Bay Area. In fact, I'm talking yesterday with some folks, some of the leaders at St. Francis, Julia, and this is turning into even a bigger event than we were hoping or expecting. I think they're taking a lot of the space at the yacht club at Golden Gate. They're putting the tent up between the two clubs there on the peninsula. Yeah. I think it's going to be, you'll be out for that, Gary? It's going to be a terrific event.
I'm not planning to get out there, but I did want to mention, that the picture that you just had up there, she's behind Jimmy Spithill, who's steering there and doing, most of the time he's doing well in the Sail GP, and there she is giving some word and advice right behind the master.
What do you think of the Sail GP's inclusion of women now as a requirement on the boat? Do you think it should be a requirement, or it's something that should be massaged in? And if you like the idea, how about women as a requirement on the yachts for the America's Cup?
Well, any way you can get more women out of the water, I'm supportive of it. I don't know if it needs to be a requirement, but it's clear that the women that have been sailing are doing a great job. And, we didn't see many women out on the water in the last 2 America's Cups. So if you said you had to have 2 or 3, I think it would be great. And I'm all for it. We learned, Tom, at the Olympic Games that the mixed gender crews in the NACRAs and now the 470 worked really well. It was fascinating to watch. And so to answer your question, yes, I think it's a good idea to get more women on the water, even if you have to designate how many are going to be. It worked well in the Volvo Ocean Race. It's working well in the Olympics. It seems to be going well in the Sail GP, and the America's Cup would do well to follow suit.
Yeah, Julie, are you getting convinced by Gary?
What I'm thinking about are some of the conversations we've had in the last few days about sailing in maybe 20 or 30 years ago or 40, which were gender equal.
Everybody sailed together.
And everybody sailed together, and it was social, and everybody had fun, and nobody was so worried about quotas.
Well, exactly. And none of us is in favor of quotas or mandates, I'm sure. But I think to progress the sport, I agree with Gary. As you know, you and I have disagreed, and a lot of our FOSI have had different views as we've discussed it. But it's nice to see, I think, Gary, the sport progressing. And I for one, agree with you. Julie is not quite so sure if she does.
Well, in the Olympic Games, we have equal number of men and women now, 175 each.
Right.
And for Paris 2024 and LA 2028, there's equal medals for both genders. So it's good. I mean, it's only since 1988 that we had a separate class for women only, the 470, that debuted in Busan, South Korea. So we've made a lot of progress here.
Okay, well, Gary, speaking of women and leaders in our sport, a longtime friend of yours and mine, you grew up near her. I think she's got a couple of years on both of us. That's Jan Chance O'Malley. She was, I guess, at Maniloking. Was it Maniloking Boat Club?
That's a Maniloking Yacht Club.
Yacht Club. And then did you grow up at Bay Head?
No, I grew up in Beechwood and Toms River, a little south of there.
So down south, and the late great Sam Merrick. But Jan O'Malley, she's often on here watching. She has been one of the great leaders in our sport, multiple winner of the Rolex. And I just want to give a shout out to her, and maybe you do as well.
Yeah, her father won a gold medal in the Olympics in the 5.5 meter class back in 1952, and I think that was an inspiration to Jan. Um, is she older than me? Anyway, I've known her for quite a long time. She's very enthusiastic, and as you say, Tom, she's done an awful lot for the sport of sailing. She's an aficionado of multi-hulls as well as monohulls, and great to have her on. Won the Adams Cup a couple times, and she won this award when Ted Turner won it one year.
Mm. If you're just joining us, we are running down the list of nominees for the 2021 U.S. Sailing Rolex Yachtsmen and Yachtswomen of the Year woman. We've just done the 4 women nominees. The selection will be announced in a month or so, and there will be, as Gary said, a dinner or a lunch someplace at one of the prestigious clubs in this country. And we'll keep you posted. In the meantime, it's our pleasure here on TFE Live to have Gary announce on behalf of U.S. Sailing, these nominees, this short list, which has just come out. In fact, this is exclusive. The press release will come out this afternoon from the U.S. Sailing office in Bristol, Connecticut. Gary, shall we move to the men?
Yes, sir.
Here's the first one, Connor Bluen, another Floridian from the other side, from Bill Wingrove's neck of the woods, from Tampa.
He had kind of an eclectic year. He was the Sunfish North American champion. He finished 3rd at the Sunfish World Champion. He was the Champion of Champions winner and the Wasp North American champion. And there he is out on his boat. Looks pretty comfortable, doesn't he? Out there on his hiking foil.
Yeah, the hiking wing. Yeah, he is. He obviously is multi-talented, and we're getting a lot of interest on the show here in the Wasp class, Gary. We've run several videos. In fact, this summer at Mount Chesina in Lake Garda, they're running a big Wasp. What do you call it? A Wasp's Fest?
Yeah. Yes.
Wasp's Nest. And this class is growing like proverbial topsy. And do you ever see this class being in the Olympics as a one design foiler, a la the Moth, which of course is not one design?
It could be. I mean, the Moth, as you know, Tom, has been around for a long, long time. And then to put the foils on them, change the whole dynamic and add carbon fiber. So the boats are light, stable, and really fast. And younger people are gravitating to it. I'm not sure how young Connor actually is, but he's been doing well, and he won the North Americans. And we need more Americans to get skilled at foiling, that's for sure.
Boy, the Brits are good, aren't they?
They are. And they've been doing it for a while, but we can catch up.
Yes.
Well, indeed. And I think under Paul Kayard's leadership, we hope that Connor and others will, including any number of the other younger people here. I think he's actually younger perhaps than he looks with in this photo, but obviously a terrific multi-class denizen. And then our next nominee in the men's department here is
Taylor Canfield
of St. Thomas, UVI, U.S. Virgin Islands, and I think he's living in Miami now.
I think he is. I've been watching him for quite a long time as a young sailor, and at Boston College, he was All-American several times. And, this year, he won the Congressional Cup Match Race Regatta for the 5th time. Extraordinary. And in that regatta, he had a record of 22 wins versus 3 losses. He's the M32 world champion, won it by 40 points. I mean, just destroyed the fleet. Won the Miami Winter Series in the M32s. He was 6th at the J70 North Americans and 3rd at the J70 Worlds, sailing with Lauren. And he was 2nd at the Sail GP at the Saint-Tropez event. Beautiful place for sailing, by the way.
Yeah, that's tough duty there.
Yeah. And then the Melgas 24 Bacardi Cup champion. He's 2nd at the Melgas 24 Charleston Race Week, 2nd at Block Island Race Week, and won the Leukemia Cup Regatta at the New York Yacht Club. I mean, Taylor, I'm a fan of Taylor Canfield. He just seems to win all the time. He's a great natural talent. His dad in St. Thomas is a great man around the sport of sailing and has done a lot. And I think it's rubbed off on Taylor. And it's good to see him on this list.
Couldn't agree more. Bill Canfield is a regular. He's been on the show a number of times as one of these, as you know, Spark Plugs leaders. He does a lot of race committee work for New York Yacht Club and has been president of the U.S. Virgin Islands Sailing Association, Virgin Islands Sailing Association, and a terrific guy, as is Taylor. We know Taylor well, and he had a terrific year, including Bob Schmetterer is reminding us, Gary, that at New York Yacht Club, Taylor also won the Mossbacher Trophy, the very prestigious, arguably the most prestigious trophy now at New York Yacht Club. He won that this year.
Well, let me just point out that, Taylor and Mike Buckley receiving the Mossbacher Trophy, which the Yacht Club, New York Yacht Club, presents to the best sailing performance of the year, which is a big statement. But I also might add that Bob Schmetterer himself received the New York Yacht Club Medal, which is a very prestigious award. They only give it out every 2 or 3 or 4 years to somebody who's doing really good work. And Bob has done a lot of good work down there at the New York Yacht Club. So bravo for him.
Bravo to Bob, indeed. And nice also to see Taylor on here with all of the great sailing racing he did in 2021. Next up, from Ithaca, New York, Dave Hughes.
Yeah, Dave Hughes, he's been around the sport for a while. He's tall and thin and one of the greatest crews this country has produced. He was on board winning the Etchells Nationals this year. He competed in Enoshima, Tokyo 2021 Olympic Games, crew for Stu McNay in the 470 class. Mm-hmm. They made the medal race. They ended up 9th overall after all of that. He's the J24 national champion. He switched gears, very different kind of boat, won the Atlantic National Championships. He won the 470 National Championships, the U.S. Open Sailing Series Miami, and he and Stu ended up 5th at the 470 World. So he's a man to get on your boat. He's a very intellectual person. I think was a White House intern at one point earlier in his career, and very thoughtful guy. So as a crew, well done, Dave.
Yeah, it's really nice to see crew nominated as well as Helms. Yes. We're going to talk at some point. Maybe we got to let Gary go. He's got a dinner to get to, but sometime we're going to have a debate about what they're calling the drivers in Sail GP, whether they call them helm or skipper or something else. But it's nice, regardless, nice to see crew, Gary, being recognized as well. Good, really, really good point. Now, this next male nominee, when we looked at the picture, Gary, you in the tech check, we both, well, go ahead and reprise your comment.
Well, we're looking at Harry Melges the fourth. I think he's 21, maybe 22 now. And but he sure has a resemblance to both his grandfather, the great Buddy Melges, and his wife, Gloria, who's, the two have done so much for the sport of sailing. And you can see it in those eyes and that face. And, of course, the genes certainly trickle down through that family. His dad, Harry Melges the third, one of the great sailors and multiple-time Eastcow national champion and many other things. But Harry the fourth, this year, first of all, he won the Eastcow Nationals twice. Now, the reason he won it twice is they had the 2020 Nationals at Little Egg Harbor, New Jersey, back in June of 2021. And then the 2021 regular scheduled Nationals, he ended up winning that. And those were tightly contested regattas. He won the Inland Championships, where all the top boats from the inland go, the Eastcow Spring Championship, and he won the A-Scow Inlands. That's a 38-foot boat versus a 28-foot boat. And then he spent time as a tactician in the IC-37s at the New York Yacht Club. And as tactician, he ended up in second place at the North American Champs. And then if that wasn't enough, he was second at the M32 North American Champs. And he raced in a Melges 24 Gold Cup, and he won that. So an eclectic year for Harry the Fourth, as everybody calls him around Lake Geneva in the Midwest, and certainly a rising star. And I should add that he has got Olympics in his head, and he's been sailing the 49ers a little bit. and we're going to hear a lot more about Harry Melges. But for 2021, he is a very good candidate.
Indeed. H4, as he's known in Scout Country, up in Wisconsin and Minnesota and beyond. And another terrific candidate. What a great lineup that we've come up with so far, that U.S. Sailing has come up with, and all the members and others that I guess that have nominated folks. And we'll talk a little bit about that process in due course, Gary. But let's go to our final male nominee, and that is Eric Champagne, who is originally from Oceanside, California, now living in Vista, California, not too far down the road in SoCal.
Well, Eric had a good year. He's noted for a crew. At the J70 pre-Worlds, he won it, and then he and the crew, the rest of the crew, ended up second at the J70 World Championship this year. They won the Melges 24 National Championship. As part of the Congressional Cup crew, and sailed in the Ficker Cup, was third. Got third at the Etchells North Americans. He sailed a Lido 14. Tom, you must have sailed those somewhere along the way.
He did indeed, down in Newport Beach.
You know, he was second at the Lido 14 National Champs. He won the Lipton Cup at the San Diego Yacht Club, which, as you know, is one hotly contested regatta. I get to sail occasionally in the Masters Regatta. That's tough enough. But the Lipton brings all the top, many are professionals, some are not. It's a great regatta. He won that. And he finished third in a Transpac race. So a very eclectic year with a lot of different stuff. So the 4 women and the 4 men that have been nominated, I mean, it's going to be tough for the selection committee to figure out who is going to be the Rolex Yachtswoman, who's going to be the Rolex Yachtsman of the Year. But I think we can take heart that 9 American sailors here have had a great year, and whoever wins it will be well-deserved, and being on this list is pretty special.
Indeed, just to be nominated,
Absolutely.
as we said, right, Julia?
Absolutely.
You agree?
Absolutely.
And a nice rendition by you, Gary, very nicely done in introducing them. Clark Chapin is telling us that the list of all past winners, Clark, of course, has been a stalwart at U.S. Sailing and USYU before that. All the past winners, there's the website he's got down in the comments. Now let's ask our Fozy if they were voting today, who they'd vote for, who do they like. Charlie Legeman. Oh, Charlie, who's watching on YouTube. Good for Eric, a real talent that can sail anything. I have a feeling that's true about all these nominees. John Schaefer, scores or feeders for foiling. Matthias Collins, replying to Alex, yeah, they're talking about Solings. What's your favorite sport boat? Yeah, they're talking about Solings and Melges. Kip Watson is saying Connor is the coach at the College of Charleston. Should be acknowledged as well. Good point. Thanks, Kip, for that. Blake Middleton up in Minnesota saying H4 is a chip off the old block. Indeed. Very impressive. Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, great area. Alex Kent is saying Joe Cool. More importantly, Taylor Canfield is a super nice guy and a great representative of the sport. We talked about Bob Schmetter, Bill Wingrove. Connor came aboard his father's ID-35 back when he was a young kid. He was very sharp that day for a young Opti sailor. Noel Owen is saying, let's go, Connor. A lot of cheers for Connor. Eric Stordahl is saying he's 31. Sailing the College of Charleston. Blake Middleton is saying Sunfish and Wasp are about as diverse, good point, as 2 single-handed classes could be. Gary, sort of like the Sunfish and the Flying Scot. Let's talk about the E-Scow for a minute. And we mentioned the late, great Sam Merrick, who was a mentor to you and to me, but you spent a lot of time sailing with him in Narragansett Bay.
Barnegat Bay.
On Barnegat Bay in the E-Scow.
Yeah, I raced with Sam Merrick from 1966 to 1971. I was young, thin, almost tall, and but Sam taught me a lot. What he taught me was how to be a tactician and what kind of information to deliver to the helmsman. And I look back all these years later, and that experience with Sam really set me up nicely when I teamed up with Ted Turner in the America's Cup years later, and then many other sailors as well. So I give Sam Merrick a lot of credit. And the way he started out was he simply asked a question. All right, Jabo, are we going left or right on the first leg? Oh dear, you're asking me? I'm 16 years old. And then I said, well, there's more wind to the left. Good, we'll go that way.
Oh,
And he put the responsibility right on your shoulders. But Sam, what a great man. And you know, he passed in the year 2000, so it's hard to believe he's been going that long. But he sure had a good impact on our sport.
And especially our Olympic endeavors, because he was the head of our Olympic effort when we won a medal in every class.
wow.
Yeah, well,
In
Dick Stern,
1984.
I was going to say, Tom and Julia, Dick Stern, who just passed away a few days ago, I think he was 94 years old. He was chair of the Olympic Committee when, and I was on that committee. We recruited Sam to be the Olympic coordinator, and then Sam became the chair of the committee and orchestrated 3 golds and 4 silvers in 7 classes in LA in 1984. That's a feat that will be hard to repeat
By any country.
Yes.
by any country. 7 medals in 7 classes, 3 golds, 4 silvers. Pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
we did an RIP for Dick Stearns.
Yeah.
Richard Irving Stearns III, who was my sailmaker when I was growing up. Murphy and I made a lot of sails for us in our neck of the woods, Gary, over in southeastern Michigan. I note here, Gary, you will be pleased to hear that Kim McIntosh Chamont, O.L. Pitts' granddaughter, is on. She's saying, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Gary. Fort Worth Boat Club is truly blessed to have the sailing history influenced by Courageous and that Courageous America's Cup team.
Yes.
You want to say anything to Kimmy?
I went to O.L. Pitt's 100th birthday, and I said to him, I have never been to a 100th birthday party before. And as only O.L. Pitts could do, he said, well, neither have I. He's good. And he lived to 104.
Yeah, he
Fabulous.
and moreover in great shape until really the last year. I was at that same party, Gary, and Ted was there.
And Ted came,
Ted
and
came.
It was a special night. And,
It was.
we all loved O.L., and he sure did a lot for the sport. He was a pretty good sailor himself, by the way.
People don't realize that, how good a sailor he was, indeed. And my favorite story about O.L. Pitts was he used to say, Tom, he'd have some young airline hostess with him in Newport, having just flown first class on American up to Providence or Boston. And he'd say, Tom, it's a good thing the mind goes before the body.
Yeah.
Oliver Lee Pitt, what a great guy. And all these, down the road, I think one of the nice things about Rolex and all they do for the sport is that by recognizing these people and the encouragement, Gary, you and others give to everybody, all of us in the sport, to go out and do good things for our beloved sport.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all of these people have been nominated, not only are great sailors, but will be doing, and already are in many respects, and doing great things for people down the road, as did Sam Merrick, as did Jan O'Malley, as did Dick Stearns. We were saying the other day, Gary, on the show, how Dick Stearns was just like Buddy Melgus, was one of these guys who would help you get faster. He wasn't worried about whether you're going to beat him. He wanted you to beat him.
Yeah.
And would help everybody any way they could. That's what our sport's been all about. For me, at least.
He was Olympic silver medalist himself and won many championships. And I actually had a Murphy and I sail for my Penguin. The word got around those were the fast sails, and I think Bruce Goldsmith might have won the internationals. So I got one of those for my boat in the early 60s.
That is a good memory that you remember. Not only Goldsmith, who worked there before he went off and did his own sailmaking loft, but he obviously a terrific sailor as well, the Bruin, and was very fast in the Lightning class. And I won a Thistle midwinters with him crewing for him and his wife last time they sailed together, in fact. Well, we could tell all sorts of stories here. Gary, we won't. Gary Legeman, good to see Gary. Last time we saw each other was at LB, I guess that means Long Beach Yacht Club, where he spoke the day before the world shut down with COVID in March of 2020.
That was March 13th. I flew out the next day and back home, but the world was ending. I did 7 talks in California. The last one in Santa Barbara was canceled on that Friday, but that's nice to hear from him. Great club, Long Beach.
What a great club. And they're going to be the focus of a lot of action here going forward, looking forward to the 2028 Olympics. And John Shadden and John Sangmeister, both of whom have been on the show. In fact, I think Sangmeister's on here. He's asking you to remember Runyon Coley. Runyon
Coley Jr., three-time collegiate champion, the first Easterner to win the East Scout Nationals, Lake Minnetonka, 1966. I think he won the Penguin Internationals when it was the biggest class in the country, 7 times international champion, and very involved with youth championships. But I will say the funny thing about Runny, he and Sam Merrick, they were contemporaries. I think Sam might have been 2 years older, but boy, were they rivals on the water. They were great friends on land, but on the water, they really chided each other, and it was just great fun.
And Sam,
Runny Coley, he lost the Olympic trials in 1960 by 1 point to George O'Day. He had a borrowed 5.5 meter. Dr. Britt Chance had a tune-up boat. Runny sailed it, lost the trials by 1 point, and then George O'Day went on to get a gold medal. And Runny told me a little story about how in 1958, he ended up on the 12-meter Columbia preparing for the America's Cup, and he was kind of half trying out for the crew, but he realized he was in deep trouble and his slot wasn't going to happen because there was only room for one guy in the cockpit, and the other guy was named Olin Stevens, who designed the boat, Columbia.
Dr. Britt Chance, who was Jan Chance O'Malley's brother, he passed away some time ago. Yeah. Kevin Jewett is saying Connor's focus. I think we've lost the comment here. It's gone above. So many comments, which is always great to see. We get hundreds of comments, Gary, as you know, on the show. But Kevin Jewett is saying Connor's, meaning Connor Bluen, focus is on our women's team at College of Charleston. They won the Dinghy Championship and helped lead our team to its 9th Fowl Trophy in 2021 as well. Pretty impressive stuff. Also a very impressive list. So Connor Bluen, who's there in the upper left corner, is popular with the Fozy, as are any number of these others. Ron Young, who's on here, you know Ron well, here from St. Francis Yacht Club. Yes, H4, Ron is saying H4, Harry IV is crazy fast, but will he ever spin a yard as well as his grandpa? What a sailing family.
He'll have to grow into spinning a yard like the Buddy Melgas, but he's sailing just as well as Buddy was at his age.
Anything else to say, Gary, about this group of very esteemed American sailors who've been nominated for the Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year awards, U.S. Sailings? Most prestigious.
I look forward to being there and being the MC again this year, and I think it's year 33 that I've been to Master Ceremonies for the award. And it's just a great event with these heartfelt speeches, and nobody will know, me included, who actually the winner is until we open the envelope. So we'll know more soon. But right now, it's a great list.
It is indeed. And Josh Toso, the esteemed marketing manager at U.S. Sailing, who put us together to do this, Gary, told me that this year, unlike in previous years when they've announced the winners in advance so that the family can show up and everybody can save the date, they are not going to do this. It's going to be an Oscar moment. Hand me the envelope and open the envelope, Gary. So you'll be there. You'll be the first to know when you read it.
Yeah, always a great thing. The envelope, please. You kind of look. And, for 3 seconds, I know the winner before anybody else. And like the Academy Awards, I always like to kind of pause. And the winner is, and then you say it.
Final word, Julia or Gary, about Rolex and all they're doing for our sport?
No, I think we're good. And Rolex has been a great partner for the sport of sailing for many, many years. Very cool.
Shall we? Can we get you to stay for one more segment?
Sure.
The B block will move into always one of my favorite segments here on the show, and that is This Day in History. And Gary's got a big smile on his face because he knows what it is. Julia, you know what it is. Yeah. An auspicious day. 35 years ago today, the 4th of February, 1987. Here is your first clue. Gary, you know where that is. Lombard.
Fremantle, Western Australia. The Gunsmoke Blue, Stars and Stripes, heads out to the starting line.
Yeah, and it was a scene like nothing any of us can remember, as any of us that have been involved in the Cup for a long time. Stingray is saying Stars and Stripes, SNS defeats Kookaburra 3-4-0. Yes, today, Bill Wingrove, Stars and Stripes wins the Cup. Clark Chapin, okay, he's back on the Rolex. But yeah, it was a astonishingly cool 3 years down there. I was back and forth with New York Yacht Club's team as Gary is their executive director. You were down there commentating for ESPN and brought us that marvelous commentary from halfway around the world in the middle of their summer. We'd never, it wasn't like the moon in 1969, those grainy kind of black and white photos. Right. This was in full color. I don't know if it was 480p, but it was beautiful.
Well, there were a couple of good things going for it. First of all, you had Dennis Conner, who'd lost the Cup, making a comeback, patriotically named Stars and Stripes. Happily, we had a lot of wind, 18 to 28 knots every day as the Fremantle doctor. The afternoon thermal came breezing in, and Conner and his team, John Marshall and company, Bruce Nelson was part of it, came up with quite a fast boat and Stars and Stripes, and they matched it to the weather conditions. That was the whole secret: long water line, heavy air boat. So they had to struggle through the early rounds when the wind was light. And that final day was magic. I think they realized on the boat that this was really a historic moment to reclaim the America's Cup. Great national pride. And the Australians get a lot of credit. Tom, I think they ran one of the best, if not the best, regatta of all time. It really was special. Certainly the best Cup in our lifetimes was that Fremantle. 11 challengers from 7 countries, 4 defense syndicates, 17 or 13 challengers.
17 teams total. Do you know, Gary, do you know anyone who thinks that was not the best Cup?
I was about to say that, yeah.
I don't know anyone who doesn't think that was the best Cup in our lifetime.
Oh my gosh. And, all the machinations through the Louis Vuitton Cup leading up to it. And finally, Dennis ends up winning. It was, Buddy Melga's debuted in the America's Cup there. And I know you were part of America too, and they struggled a little bit.
A little.
More than a little bit. And Tom Blackaller, he was onto something with that 4.5 rudders. And if he'd had maybe another 4 weeks, he might have pulled it off. He was quite good. And you look at the crew he had with Paul Kayard, and they were good. And they were one of the semifinalists.
Yep. Ron Young is on the watching. He was with that team, and you had a bit of a celebration. I couldn't make it yesterday. Ron got a group together for a future Wednesday yachting luncheon here, and I couldn't make it because our internet was out here in the marina for 6 hours yesterday. But Julia, I talked to Ron Young. Gary, you'll be pleased to know this. Talked to Ron yesterday afternoon. We're going to have Ron on the show.
Oh, good.
And feature what he did with, what'd you have on that Zoom call? 20 plus people, all fond memories?
There were about 25 people, ranging from Commodore Tompkins was on there, and Paul Kayard and Russ Silvestri, and a lot of great sailors over the years, and we all told 1 or 2 stories. Everybody respected everybody else's time, and we're remembering Tom Blackaller. His daughter Lisa was on it, and she absorbed it all, and then she made her own comments at the end. And I would call it a little bit unvarnished.
I would hope so.
Tom Blackaller was a little unvarnished too.
Oh yes, he wouldn't be any other way.
Wouldn't be any other.
If Tom was with us now, he would be 82 years old. It's hard for me to envision. He was 89 when he passed in 1989. But he
not 89. He was he was 69 when he passed. He was
49 years old.
Yeah, 49.
Yeah. He and I are exactly the same age.
I thought you were 38.
going. Oh, I am. Depends on what time of day it is, but it's been fun seeing him. I took his daughter sailing for the first time she was ever sailing, and there were many stories to tell about.
Well, speaking of stories, we're going to get to an America's Cup video here, Gary. I didn't show this to you in the tech check. I wanted to surprise you. But before we do that, I'm just going to look at a couple of the comments. Gary, John Schaefer, your neighbor in Annapolis, is saying Gary was a major key in broadcasting for ESPN. He's saying sailing became fun to watch. Alex,
Thank you.
Alex Kent, hey, Ron, great stories of the development of the Geek, the elliptical bulb keel that was used by Tom Blackaller and co. Guy, don't call me Guy Briere, is saying US 61 is being put back together in New Orleans. Did you know that? I didn't.
No, I didn't, but that's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
It's a good boat.
Bill Wingrove's asking, would Gary ever go back into the pool? Yeah, to give match racing tactics for old time's sakes.
Sure. That was a great little segment. Jeffrey Mason came up with that routine, standing in a pool, explaining match racing, circling at the start and covering and jiving. It was good fun.
I spent too much time this morning trying to find a photo of you in the pool. I thought I had one, then I looked on the internet. I was going to call and ask you, but I didn't want to tip it off. Steve Rapardo, Steve. Terrific show, Tom. Nice to see Gary and listen to his stories. Gary is the heart and soul of sailing down Lunabos, is saying over in wine country. But Gary, I want to go now to this video. It's I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll play the first 3 minutes of it, and then maybe you want to. I'll have you come in, voice over. It is a fantastic recollection of what happened on this day 35 years ago in Perth.
What goes down must come up. The stars and stripes wants the America's Cup.
Day 4, the morning of the critical race. Thousands of loyal Australians cram the harbor to see the gladiators sail out. What an exciting day! Stars and Stripes is towed behind the Betsy. Dennis Conner looks around, appreciates the fans' interest. Of course, most people are cheering for Kookaburra, but Stars and Stripes gets a good send-off. Peter Gilmore, Ian Murray wave to the crowd. 100,000 people line the shores. Murray has to feel inspired. Wow, that's a lot of energy. Look at this scene. It's never been like this in the sport of sailing. Stars and Stripes has a 3-0 advantage. Could Kookaburra win a race and prolong the series? Or is Dennis Conner going to get the albatross off his neck and rewrite history? The boats are in a starting maneuver. Stars and Stripes has to be careful. They're to leeward. The final countdown. We're listening to Peter Eisler, the navigator. Peter Gilmore at the helm of Kookaburra seems to fall off too much. Sailing away from the line, advantage Stars and Stripes. Tactician Tom Whidden loves it. Kookaburra tacks away. 24 miles and 8 legs ahead. Can Stars and Stripes hold on to their lead? Kookaburra tacks. Stars and Stripes on port has to be careful. She crosses by a length. Advantage Stars and Stripes. How about this? Stars and Stripes doesn't cover. Kookaburra keeps sailing on starboard. And a sail change aboard the Australian boat. The wind builds. They need a heavier sail. Don McCracken on the bow. Make sure everything runs smoothly. Beautiful change. They hardly lose any distance. Stars and Stripes on starboard with the right of way. And a 3-boat length advantage. The American boat is sailing fast. The breeze builds with Rottnest Island in the distance. Calm aboard Stars and Stripes. They tack over to cover. Kookaburra on the right follows suit and tacks away. They're hoping a tacking duel would work. Only one race to go if Stars and Stripes can hold on to this lead. Kookaburra seems to catch up a little bit. The wind's going light. Possible advantage to Australians? Seems as we get closer to the island, the wind is a little lighter. Stars and Stripes covers. Tactician Tom Whidden makes the right call. Down below aboard Kookaburra, the Spinnaker is ready for the downwind run. At the windward mark, Stars and Stripes leads, but Kookaburra has caught up. Maybe this race she can pass the American boat. Nice Spinnaker set aboard Stars and Stripes. Now it's Kookaburra's turn. At the finish line, Stars and Stripes crosses ahead. Dennis Conner has won the America's Cup against the Australians in their home waters. A dramatic turnaround after losing the Cup in 1983. A huge victory. Dennis Conner is happy. He's won 4 races to 0. This is one of the biggest turnarounds in sports. Dennis Conner has made his comeback. The Australian fans are happy for Conner. They appreciate good sailing, good sportsmanship. Conner and crew have done that. The Cup is heading back to the United States, but not Newport, Rhode Island, San Diego, California, Dennis Conner's hometown. The crews cheer each other.
Gary, I'll bring that audio down and let you voice this live.
Well, that was kind of fun to see. I haven't seen some of that footage in quite a long time. After the race finished, I was invited over to Stars and Stripes, and we did a live interview, live to the U.S. on ESPN and with the crew. And, of course, I knew everybody, Bill Trankel and John Wright and Tom Whidden. And they were half happy but half stunned that they'd actually pulled it off. I mean, really, it'd been 40 months since they lost the Cup in September of 1983, and here they pulled it off. They got to go to the White House. They Ronald Reagan honored Australians 3.5 years earlier, and of course, President Reagan was a Californian and pretty happy with Dennis, and as they're yucking it up in the East Room of the White House, it was a very cool moment that happened, and it was a patriotic moment. And Conner knew that he'd been beaten by technology in 1983, and give credit to Malin Burnham and John Marshall and the design team to come up with a fast boat. Going past the Rolex building there, a future president hosted a parade up Fifth Avenue. There's Mayor Ed Koch and the America's Cup. So this was just a couple weeks later in Manhattan, a little bit colder than it was in Fremantle when they got the Cup. Pretty exciting stuff.
It was great, exciting stuff. And by the way, we want to welcome Betsy Whidden, who is on here. She was up here, Julia, wasn't she?
Yes.
I saw a comment from Betsy saying,
what an amazing rush of memories. Trying to reach my husband so he can watch. Well done.
Well, as you all,
every minute of the whole campaign, all the way to the end, and of course, their kids, Tom and Betsy's kids, were pretty young at the time, and now they're all grown up. And there's a young Thomas Whidden, grandson, who's tearing up the race course, sailing on the 420s.
Indeed.
With one of the Parkin boys, doing really well.
I don't think our kids were even conceived at that point.
You know, by the way, before I sign off, I just wanted to say a little something. So I do a column for Sailing World magazine called the Jobson Junior All-Stars, and I haven't done it since 2018, but recognizing how well so many young people are doing in sailing in this country, I resurrected it for the next issue. And our young sailors had 3 silvers and a bronze medal and some other good finishes at the Youth World Championship that took place in the Middle East back in December. So my point being that there is some good young talent on its way, which I hope translates to some strong Olympic performances in the future.
What do you think of the chances of our Olympic program having a resurrection under Paul Kehart?
Well, Paul's a two-time Olympian, and a very thoughtful guy who's been through lots of America's Cups and won the Whitbread Round the World race. And he and Bill Rue have teamed up, and they've done a great job raising money. You'll never have enough, but they're doing a good job raising money and recognizing talent. And I think that's the kind of shot in the arm we need, to have a guy that's been through the Olympics, that knows how to win big events, overseeing the whole effort, and recruiting some talented coaches and inspiring young people to say, hey, I want to go do the Olympics too. I mean, look, the performance last year, you don't want to pick on any individual, but overall, the U.S. team was not strong. We had 3 ninth place finishes. We didn't even go in all 10 classes. We only went in 9. But I think we'll do a little bit better in France. And the goal is to get to LA 2028 and have a good, strong performance.
One last look, well said, by the way, thank you for that. One last look back at DC and what happened 35 years ago today. Over to you, Gary. Final thoughts on these last photos.
Well, they've just come across the finish line there. Tom Whidden on the left looking mighty happy there. It's just a great moment. The Stars and Stripes crew had won it. And here they are loaded up. They got all the B-boat skippers. I'm in the middle of that scrum there. You can kind of see me right next to, I don't know who it is, but it was a great. What I'm trying to do there is get an interview with Dennis Conner on live television while the champagne is flowing, and they've loaded the boat up with, I think somebody counted there was 37 people on the boat at one time coming into the harbor. It was a happy moment.
It was indeed. In fact, one of the cool moments in that last race, I think on the downwind leg, in fact, somebody made a comment about it, didn't they, Julia? On that downwind leg, Tom, Curly as we all call him, Tom turned to Dennis and started interviewing him, right? Remember that?
Yeah, they were playing to the camera.
Right. How about the bud cam, the famous bud cam under the boom, under the gooseneck?
That worked out pretty well. It took a little while to talk that Stars and Stripes crew. I actually credit Blackhauler. Blackhauler took the onboard camera first and said, well, we'll give it a try. And once Tom did it, then Dennis said, well, we'll try it too. And the crew suddenly realized, hey, we're gonna be heroes here. And the onboard camera, and nothing was scripted. We got to hear Tom Whidden and Peter Eisler in the back of the boat talking tactics, strategy, navigation, and with Dennis. And it was all 1 and 2 word sentences, but you really got a sense that this was one calm group and they were well prepared. And you're looking at the picture, a happy crew coming in after reclaiming the America's Cup.
By the way, speaking of San Diego, today, the San Diego Union Tribune, the UT, whatever it's called now, ran a 35-year retrospective from, and this is the obviously from that day, February 4th, 1987, on the front page of the paper. And all of not only San Diego, but all of the U.S. really went nuts. And you talked about the parade, Mayor Ed Koch, and there's, what's the San Diego mayor's name? What was her name then?
I don't know.
I forget her. She's there on the right. And of course, Donald Trump, who paid for it.
Yes.
And he paid for the parade.
He paid for the parade, right? Not the America's Cup. They tried to get money from him to support the team. He said, no, if you win, I'll pay for it. Thinking they probably wouldn't win. 2 covers, major magazine covers. This just doesn't happen in our sport before or since. The other, of course, being that famous photo with the Gipper, the late, great President Reagan, and D.C., who's still alive and going strong down in San Diego. Be great to get him on the show sooner than later. A couple other comments, Gary, and we'll let you go. Eisler's a stud, Alex Kent says. What a diplomat. Great to meet him in the days I raced with Team Siebel on the J125. David Richard Morse, totally agree. K-Art is going to vastly improve America's chances 2 Olympics out. That's good to hear, Gary, I guess, about your column coming back, all about the youngsters. And I think, Julie, we could not agree more.
Absolutely.
Gary, last word to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me on. Like you, Tom and Julie, I'm looking forward to seeing who actually wins the Rolex Awards this year. And thanks for letting us do this on your program. Keep up the good work.
Likewise.
Yeah, there are comments saying you are the voice of America's Cup.
All right. Thank you.
Take good care, Gary. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to sign
soon.
off now.
Ciao,
Thank
bye.
you.
See you. Our longtime friend of 50 years. It's hard to believe, Julia. Just hard to believe.
It is,
I guess we must be getting old.
especially since I'm 10 years your senior.
Well, who's counting?
Not
Gary
me.
Jobson, great guest. Ryman is saying down in Cape Town, indeed. Ed Worley's saying, yeah, Dennis sailed back into the harbor, spelled Harbour, Ed Worley, and down under. He sailed harbor under Spinnaker. He had a sponsor Spinnaker up, and that was before sponsorship was allowed during the racing, at least. But Dennis was pretty good at flying his Pepsi, Spinnaker, and a few others back into the harbor. Ed Worley, yep, what a great ambassador for our sport, and I'm sure many other comments. We'll try to cover them. We got a fair bit of show to go. We're an hour and 16 minutes in, Julia.
Wow.
We got more show. This is,
Yeah.
this is TFE Live
Yeah.
for Friday.
Yeah, and we do have to remind everybody again that there are, somebody who would really like to see that footage.
Indeed.
So take the opportunity to let them know.
And what I will probably do, Julia, is cut that segment, the Rolex segment, into a short YouTube
Oh, good.
excerpt that we'll put on the YouTube channel. So that people, I know that U.S. Sailing was hoping we'd do that, and I'm sure we will. Shall we proceed here? Do you know what else today in history is? We wouldn't be here without this gentleman.
Mhm.
He has a beady eye stare.
He does. He's
Maureen
tough.
O'Connor. Thanks, Betsy Whidden. Maureen O'Connor was the San Diego mayor, Betsy's just saying. But what else happened on this day in history? You know who that is, Julia? He's a sailor, by the way. I didn't know it until I did put this segment together. Mark Zuckerberg, Zuck, from here from the Bay Area, who of course is the famously, what's the word I want? He's famous for founding and then being the CEO of Facebook. Now Meta is the parent company, and he founded it on this day in history in his Harvard dorm room in 2004, less than 20 years ago. On this day in history, 4th of February, 2004. Now, on his Facebook page last October, he posted a picture. Didn't include himself, but I have it on authority. He is sailing with his wife, Priscilla Chan, and friends here, I guess, on the bay. Shot with Priscilla and friends on a J80. The Johnstone family will be pleased. I'm sure they know this. This is from October 2021. Sailing a J80 with his wife Priscilla and friends.
That's nice.
Now you saw what happened to him yesterday.
Yes.
And today, the Facebook. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Their market cap is down by $250 billion. $250 billion. $250 billion.
Yeah.
Down. He'll come back. He's a smart boy.
Yeah.
This day in history in 2004, not even 20 years ago, and he's a sailor, and we wouldn't be on the air without Facebook and YouTube and some of this other modern technology. Meanwhile, Amazon had a great day. Did you see that?
No.
Their stock's going. Okay, we're going to get into the America's Cup. We have some interesting insider news for you in the Cup. But first, a little bit of a review of the new protocol, courtesy of Ineos Britannia. Have a look.
Lighter winds was a nemesis for this class of yacht as a whole, and some teams got around that problem better than others. But that being said, the problem was kind of inherent in the design of these boats, and a lot of the changes in the class rule have happened to attack that problem. So crew numbers coming down, weight coming out of foils, no code zeros, winches off the boat as well. All these changes begin to add up, and you can end up with a lighter platform. And as well as the weight, the span of the foils has changed as well. So there's been a big push within the development of the class rule to get these boats up and out the water and falling around in less wind. The crews come down to 8. Another big change is that they've put a control in on how many people can provide power. So 4 people can provide power to the yacht, and they can do that either through grinding or cycling, or any other means if the team decides to go down another route. Not quite sure what that would be. That does make some pretty substantial changes to the playbook. It means that you have to free up 4 people between them helming, piloting and trimming roles. But exactly how teams decide to break that down, I think will develop, and I'm sure no team will be exactly the same in how the playbook works. I think the AC40 should be an amazing boat to sail and an amazing boat to race. It's going to be nice to have some preliminary regattas to get our teeth into in the build up to AC37. The AC40 will be sailed by a crew of 4, and then everything will be powered by batteries. So yeah, no cycles, no grinders on the small boat, and a 4-man crew. So yeah, I'm excited to see how exactly it ends up looking. Very much looking forward to getting out in the next boat. I suppose watch this space.
Nice video. Thanks, Ineos and the America's Cup. Now, did you see that? He used the words. Did you hear that? He's using the words helming, and pilot, piloting, meaning what we used to think of or call the flight controller. They're now referring to the flight controller as the pilot. I like that. They're piloting the boat, and helming the boat. And I wish SailGP would do the same. I wish we'd stop calling it a driver, and stop, in some cases, calling the driver the pilot, like they do in F1, the pilota in Formula One. What do you think, Julia?
Yeah, I think it works.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
But differentiating it for those listening is going to take a minute.
Exactly, but you could, if we do it, and if SailGP gets behind it, and then we get other people, as John Emmett saying, well, it is helm. Yeah, you're helming. The skipper then can be anybody. The helm can be the skipper. The pilot can be the skipper. The bloody grinder, one of the, somebody else, not likely, could be the skipper, because the skipper's calling the shots, not necessarily doing a particular job in a bigger boat, as we all know. Yeah, it was interesting news, Fritz Mueller. 4 crew independent on batteries. Why not just extrapolate to radio controlled? Yeah, Blake Middleton said, I'll be a driver. Yeah, Blake, I think you'll be the helm, or maybe you'll be the pilot. Hey, Tom is signed in under my name, Betsy Wooden is saying. Okay, that may be Tom Wooden. So great to have both on, one or the other, or both. Jay Frederick Bland is saying, if it runs on batteries, is it still a sailboat?
Yes.
Well, we'll see how that all plays out. Nice video, Ed Worley saying, nice video, but the new protocol should allow for more time sailing of the boats. Gamers will find their way in the driver's seats, you think, Fritz? Stingray one hears they will have to also sail naked. Stingray up in Seattle. I have another video from another team, or about another team. This is a Lingy, and this is Silvio Arribabene, who was interviewed by our Fosi, by our good friend Michele Tagnazzi for Fare Vela in a brief video. They did a long video in Italian, and thanks to Stingray, who sent me the link to the little English clip, which I'll now play for you. It's pretty interesting insight into Alenghi getting back together. Have a look.
Hi, Michele. Hi, everyone. Well, everybody is pretty excited, at least in our camp, about the fact that we are back in the America's Cup. We're back with a really strong and really fun partner, which is Red Bull. And we're now, deep into the AC75 rule study, the second version of the AC75 rules. We're also looking forward, like everyone else, to the venue announcement to see where we're going to be sailing and start setting up there. And certainly, a very nice class, very exciting and very technologically developed class, still really high demanding to sail. And, all the ingredients are there for a great event.
What about the venue? Jeddah, Cork, Valencia, Malaga, Auckland?
We certainly have very fond memories of Auckland. Obviously, it's a fantastic place to sail, and the people and everything. The entire network is amazing. As Europeans, the Mediterranean, it's home, so we would welcome a venue here. But in any case, we would welcome a venue where we could be sailing year round, and a venue where we could set up as a America's Cup village and breathing and living the America's Cup experience on a daily basis, not just at the end for the event. Knocking on wood, COVID, leaves us alone, and we can have our own event. And certainly, it's a very important aspect to be able to create again the village and have all the bases and all the teams there and sailing and all that. So we hope that whichever venue will be announced can fulfill all these aspects. Yes.
Okay. In your opinion, why Mr. Ernesto Bertarelli chose to come back in the Cup?
Well, Ernesto is a very passionate sailor. He never left the world of the America's Cup, even if he was a little bit behind the scene or not in the front row, I should say. Now with this AC75, I think he was also surprised, like all of us. We were surprised by the class and by how exciting it is to race, and now the high the technological content is. So he's been sailing all these years on the lake with his flying catamarans and a group of young Swiss sailors, and I think he saw the ingredients there to get back with a fresh approach. And certainly the partnership with Red Bull goes exactly along those lines, nurturing young talents and high technological content in all what we do, and fun and enthusiasm. So, I think the partner boosted him a little bit as well, and I think it's great news. Yes.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. And if you want to go back and look at the entire interview, either in Italian or in English, faravela.net, our longtime friend and Fozy, you've been on the show, Michele Tognazzi from Italy, terrific journalist, one of the top sailing journalists in the world. And nice piece. Thanks again to Stingray for sending me the link earlier this morning. Now let's turn the page here and go to the venue, because there is an English language website. It used to be a paper. In fact, when we lived in Spain, we knew about it. It was covered, didn't cover so much Valencia, but it covered Costa del Sol. It covers, still does today, the south of Valencia and beyond, south of Alicante. And it's called Sur, for meaning in sewer in Spanish, the south. And it's called Sur in English. And they've run 3 articles about Malaga in just the last few days. These are the plans. This is the headline. These are the plans for a new 54 million euro marina in Malaga, the most modern on the Costa del Sol. Qatar's Al Alfia, I'm not sure how to pronounce, fund plans to invest in the marina with room for more than 500 boats, luxury shops, restaurants, and a sailing school. So, Julia, I think our one hears has once again come true,
Yes.
according to this news report in the last couple days, in Sur in English. But wait, there's more, including photos. That's what this new marina is supposed to look like.
Wow.
I don't know how they're going to have it ready in time for a 2024 America's Cup, but let's see. The article goes on to say, according to the proposal, the nautical complex will aim to become a destination point in Malaga City with restaurants, offices, a gym and spa, children's nursery area, offices, cafes and bars, large open terraces, and VIP dining, not unlike what you see in Barcelona and in Valencia. Barcelona after the Olympics in 92, and now Valencia after the Cup in 2007 and, of course, 2010. The complex will also house a sailing school and a dry navy yard with storage facilities for 100 boats. Workshops, warehouses, and offices. On-site parking will be available, 305 surface parking spots, and a further 134 spaces underground.
Wow.
There's another look at it. According to Sur in English, Sur, S-U-R, sports washing by the Middle East, James Frederick Bland is saying. We'll see. The proposal for what is described as the most modern marina on the Costa del Sol is expected to be presented to the Port Authority's Board of Directors today, which, of course, now it's 21:30 UTC, so it's 22:30. It's late at night in Spain or late in the evening. They're just at dinner now, thinking about dinner in Spain. If all goes to plan, the objective is to obtain the permits and start the works after summer.
And finish in 2 years.
Less than 2 years.
Yeah.
Finish in December the following December, so in a year and a half. I know, it sounds pretty far-fetched, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, it can be done, but
You think? In Spain? Could it be done in California? You wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't have the permits in our lifetime.
No.
Something like that. Okay, that is from surinenglish.com, SURIN English.com. I spelled that right. Pedro Luis Alonso and Ignacio Lillo. Thank you for that report. But again, wait, there's more, because there's another article that came out, I think, yesterday, last couple days. The America's Cup wants its HQ to be in the new Malaga Marina, or so they assert, in 2024, if plans get the go-ahead and it is ready in time. The company behind the San Andres port redevelopment proposal have assured, quote, if we start in the summer, it could be ready by December 2023, if there are no problems with permits. Now, the protocol, notwithstanding that the protocol, Julia, requires that the teams be at the venue for the entire last year of the Cup. So if it's going to be in May, like it was in Valencia, with the preceding 2 or 3 months for the Challenger Selection Series, I don't see how that's going to happen.
No.
But nonetheless, they are hopeful that it will happen. The Al Alfia Group from Qatar, through Marina Malaga SAN, is the winner of the virtual contest to develop this marina in the Huelin area of Malaga City. And the numbers are pretty small here, too, I think understated. The plan, worth 54 million euros invested over 2 years, envisages a new nautical center with space for 506 boats, including 2 berths for large yachts up to 50 meters.
Wow.
Wow, that doesn't sound like very large. It's 170 feet, and only 2. 5 berths for yachts up to 30 meters in length, with the remainder of berths earmarked for boats less than 12 meters long. And then there was a third article. Obviously, they're trying to put pressure. I don't know what the decision was at the port today. If anybody knows, let us know. America's Cup will announce its choice. This article is from today or yesterday. Today. America's Cup will announce its choice of 2024 venue on the 31st of March. I hope they do it before then. The capital of the Costa del Sol, Malaga, is the favorite to host the high-profile sailing regatta, although there is competition from Ireland and Saudi Arabia. 37th America's Cup, as you all know, will be held, they say, in 2024. I'll believe it when I see it, unless it's in Auckland. Has been mired in uncertainty since Auckland, the home of the last winning team, the Emirates Team New Zealand, renounced its ambitions. I like the way they put this. Renounced its ambitions to host the competition due to a lack of government support. You think? Valencia was also in the running, having previously hosted the sailing event in 2007 and 10, but it also withdrew because of a lack of government support. That leaves Cork, Jeddah, and Malaga as potential hosts. Interesting the way they put that. Malaga is the favorite, they assert. Cork may not have the facilities to host such a large event, and Jeddah, get this, Jeddah may lack the leisure and recreational option associated with the America's Cup. Now this is again Southern Spanish, serious publication.
Yeah.
Well, lots of advertisers, and there's a big expat community down there: Irish, British,
right,
German, and so on. Live down in that part of Spain, because it's beautiful. It's warm,
it is beautiful
country. However, I'm just here in the middle of this graph now. However, Malaga's chances hinge on whether or not the redevelopment of the San Andres Marina goes ahead in a timely fashion. Overall, it is estimated that whoever hosts the regatta, get this, needs to invest between 75 million euros and 85 million euros to make sure their facilities are shipshape. SurinEnglish.com, again, Pedro Luis Alonso and Ignacio Lillo writing those 3 articles. Now, obviously, these numbers, they are way understated, because that's just for the infrastructure. There is a host fee to help run the regatta and a fee for funding the Defender Emirates Team New Zealand, Julia. Is this going to happen?
I don't think so.
You're whispering. I know. You're whispering like President Biden.
That's because that people really listen.
I have to go up here like you're chirping. You know, the mother bird is going to put some food in your mouth. I'm chirping up here to the mic. Okay, that's cryptonic. Okay, I still think it's going to be in Auckland, as you all know, and especially now that yesterday, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced what? New Zealand to end quarantine stays and reopen its borders. They finally have seen the light, line. And like Denmark has led the way in opening up, and the UK, and even here in the US now, people are realizing, especially after that Johns Hopkins report came out, that none of the leftist media are talking about. The centrist media and the right are talking about that Johns Hopkins University Medical School report that came out and said, hey, the lockdowns were cryptonic.
Didn't work.
It didn't work. So, you know, I'm sure it did work in some respects, but let's don't get into that.
No.
Great listening line, Julia. Blake is saying, Fritz Mueller, Nazis built major sub-pens, aircraft factories, V-2 rocket stuff, etc., even underground in a matter of a few months, tragically with slave labor. Well, yeah, and you could have the airport near where Clark Chapin is watching, or near the town where I grew up in Michigan, Willow Run Airport, where they could build a bomber an hour thanks to Ford Motor and the auto industry. Brilliant circular writing on Jetta, Talbot Wilson, who is a PR maestro. That guy is right on, Talbot. And again, we'd like to have Talbot on, wouldn't we, Julia?
Yes.
Huh? We'd really like to have him on, and Bernie Wilson when he gets back from the Winter Olympics, because those two PR functions. And I'm also serious, and I've had a lot of feedback, actually, since our previous show, and I said we ought to get the class experts, the gurus on here, talking about how to fleet build, how to class build in your club, in your class association, not just in this country, but across the globe. What are the good ideas that have worked for you in your club, in your class? We're going to put that together.
Great.
Any other comments here? The marina development in Malaga may not be complete to host an AC, Stingray is saying. Yeah, I think that's a big ask. And now that New Zealand is opening up, you know, people say, oh, well, it can't be in New Zealand because they've got this zero COVID policy. Ladies and gentlemen, that is gone, apparently, as of her announcement yesterday. I don't know how quickly it will all come off, but it is. In the meantime, I know Julia Ahrens will disagree with me, but I do hope these gentlemen will get together and figure out how to get some money, more money from the government if necessary, more money from the private sector. You heard what they said on that Italian segment, how cool Auckland is to host this event. It's the right place to do it. And if this gentleman, Sir Edmund Thomas, we keep putting these three pictures on, the prominent retired judge, who in fact have spent some time on their Supreme Court in New Zealand, if he has anything to do with it, he says he's going to go to court if the event is not held in Auckland, if they announce next month some other venue. You know, talk is cheap, as I once said to Bill Koch, and he still shakes his finger at me like you do.
Yeah.
And because I was trying to goad him into coming to San Diego, and I was head of that defense, and he did, and then he came and he spent a lot of money and won the cup. Not only won the trials, but won the cup. So his talk was not cheap. He did it.
Yeah.
Bravo to Bill Koch. So that's what's going on in the venue news as far as I know. Alex Kent, State Senator Wiener, who's here in California, continues to lobby for much later bar closing hours in San Francisco to help win back all the conventions that have bailed for other cities. Street poop, crime, and derelict cleanup. Well, yeah, San Francisco's got some problems, but Kimmy McIntosh is saying, go Auckland. J. Frederick Bland, time, labor, money, enough money can expedite a timeline. Yeah, but man, in Spain, having lived there, it's a tough road to hoe, I think, to get, Julia, you agree, to get that all done, permitted.
And especially, I just say that Auckland is ready and waiting. I mean, it's the facilities are there, the knowledge is there, the hunger is there.
And the people of New Zealand, and particularly of Auckland and the greater Auckland area, deserve to have a real cup without COVID. We can all go down there. They can enjoy the influx of money. They can cheer their team on.
Right.
And I still think that Team New Zealand has a much better chance of winning in Auckland than they do offshore.
I think that's absolutely right.
I really do strongly think that, and we'll see what happens. Speaking of Auckland, it's a nice segue. See how we kind of weave these segments together? We talked the other day about the anniversary regatta, and Richard Gladwell came on and reminded us that the classic yacht regatta is actually a couple days before. And there is a very nice video that I'm going to play of that classic of a distance race involved in that regatta. And it's just beautiful. It's just relax. Pour yourself a cocktail if it's Friday afternoon where you are, or even if it's Friday morning. It's not Friday morning unless you're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Well, you could pour a Mai Tai out in Hawaii, but have a look and a listen. Maharangi Regatta, the passage race. Is that beautiful or what?
I was going to say, I'm sorry, but that's very beautiful.
I know. Why wouldn't you want to go back to Auckland for the Cup and for the City of Sails and everything else that happens down there?
Yeah.
Bill Wingrove, I don't know if Hamish's boat even sailed in all of this or in this particular race. Rainbow is the name of that boat. What is it? A7? I think that's A7 right there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So I think that's Hamish's boat. Hamish and Brad Butterworth. Steve Rappard, who was there, Valencia would be a fantastic venue for the Cup. Yeah, it would, Steve. Go back there, but they're politically, there's Rainbow. See if we can pick out Hamish and Brad on the. I think Brad's not in Auckland. Maybe he is. Stingray is saying, look at this video and try to argue why AC-37 shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You think there's no method to my madness here, Stingray?
Yes.
Blake Middleton said New Zealand deserves the Cup in New Zealand, period. Mark Chapin talking about project planning. Gee, if we can just get 9 women pregnant, we could get the baby in 1 month. Yeah, it's a little light. James Bland is saying, David James agreeing it's a beautiful video. Nice music. Nicely done by, but this is a Fozy actually. And we're going to get him on. I don't remember his name at the moment. I wasn't sure I was going to play the video, but his company, Hummingbird Video and Photography down there in New Zealand, you'll see he's got a YouTube channel of considerable repute. I want to thank him for that video. We're time for John Emmett. We haven't done John Emmett yet. We're an hour and 43 minutes into the show, Julie. We should do John Emmett, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
So here we go. What we call now the Master Mentor. I like that. The Master Mentor Corner or Master Mentor Series, John Emmett, who likes to say train hard, but sail easy. Have a look at his latest submission.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Today's report is from the Pheasant Pub, and I do believe that there's a warm fire and a very nice pint of tiger beer waiting for me downstairs, so just in time to have that before the show. And it's always nice to stay in these places, you know, traditional full English breakfast in an old style pub. You know, it makes going away for a weekend really enjoyable. But there's a lot more to this weekend than just visiting a nice country pub or indeed a spectacular piece of water. Rutland is one of the biggest inland waters, if not the biggest in the UK, and Rutland Sailing Club always do a fantastic job. So the little video today was very much about my journey here, but the occasion itself is very special. It's the 25th Tiger Trophy, which is my excuse for having more than a few Tiger beers today from Everard's Brewery, and it's in memory of the late Johnny Merricks, who there's other people who would speak far more eloquently than I will about him, but in my mind, he's just the definition of an incredibly talented person who died too young. He was a 470 sailor, and the John Merricks Trust, which carried on after him, has been going for 25 years, so half a lifetime, and it doesn't seem that long ago he lost his life in a tragic accident. And probably people will be very aware of his 470 crew, Ian Walker, who, as Tom would say, is our esteemed performance director for the RYA, and Ian's had a glittering career with gold medal wins as a coach, medal wins as a crew, medal wins as a helm, all at the Olympic Games. He's won a Volvo Ocean Race, and it's so sad that Johnny's life was cut short, but it's been such a good thing. I can't tell you the exact amount of money raised, but I know in the past the grants that have come from this have helped future Olympians, indeed Olympians who've gone on to win gold medals. So you know, Johnny was just one of those characters who was larger than life. Everybody knew who he was, and everybody knew what a talented sailor he was. And just like the late Andrew Simpson, something good has carried on in his memory. So no on the water footage today. Hopefully I'll have some of that on Tuesday. It looks like it's going to be a big weekend, so I better get some calories in. Have a fantastic show, and see you later.
He'd better get some calories in. He's upstairs in that, that bed and breakfast, and apparently the pub is downstairs. He's going to go down and have a few at the Pheasant Pub. But it was just a great. John, what are these nice reports? And forget about his hair and his shaving and whether it's done or not. The point is he is without fail.
Yes.
Every Tuesday, every Friday, sending us a report. Interesting stuff. You see all the boats. I just like to see the scenery on a small lake in the middle of the winter. People are still sailing year-round in England, where it's not exactly warm.
Yes.
This time of year.
Yeah.
Nice stuff, eh?
Yeah, brings lots of facts to life.
Emmett said here in the comments, he said something about seeing how many pheasants you could see, and J. Frederick Bland is saying, I saw 0 pheasants. We did see the tiger beard. Yeah. And the Merricks Trust, which is a celebratedly cool development it's the development 25 years old in the UK, and all that has been done for the sport thanks to that trust. Fritz Mueller is saying he is more than anything a sailor's style master. Well, I don't know about that. He's a hell of a coach, and I think a great influence on the sport. Again, we like those kind of people. Replying to J. Frederick Bland, 2 photos on the wall, 6 pheasants on each pillow, Emmett is saying. Me neither. I was transfixed on his hair. Ryman didn't see any pheasants. He was looking at his hair. Gordon Smith, who is a Brit living in Denmark, and is always among the first people on and stays through the whole show. Nice words and a great reminder that raising money in people's memory is a great way of supporting young people's sailing. Blake Middleton agrees. Very cool, John. We're sailing year-round on Minnetonka, too. Just a different style, December through March, meaning they are sailing ice boats. And remember, Blake has teed up for us. I think, Blake, remind me, it's February 18th without looking at my date book. He is coming on with an ice boating expert, a gal who he knows well, and they've agreed to come on and give us,
that'd be wonderful to know.
as our guests, an ice boating, some insight into that wonderful part of our sport. Thanks again, John Emmett, for your report. And any other comments? I guess not. There's some Gordon Smith back and forth. SailGP's in the news with videos. They've released fully 3 videos in the last couple of days. I'm only going to play 2 of them because we don't have the time, but I think these are very cool videos coming out of SailGP, and notably the British team. Have a look.
My name's Rich Mason. I'm a grinder and the jib trimmer on the SailGP GBR boat. My role is kind of 2 parts. I'm a grinder, so I move the handles and the winch, which moves the wing, and the wing is the powerhouse of the boat, really. I turn these handles here, that turns the winch at the back, which in turn moves the wing. And my other job is the sail at the front, which is called the jib, and that is the smaller sail at the front. That's powered by a battery, but I move that a lot during the race. and yeah, that helps with the overall speed of the yacht as well. The most challenging part of the job is just to be accurate and consistent every time, whilst at max heart rate and, you know, breathing hard. Your decision making is a little bit hazy because you're working really, really hard, so it's important to be super precise with everything. With these boats, teamwork's really, really important, and everything has to happen in a directed sequence that if you get your job a little bit wrong, it throws the whole boat out of whack, and the consequences of that can be really disastrous. So this is the pedestal. Obviously it's just me here, but either Shrek or Neil would be in the front turning these as well. So there's a good amount of watts going through these, and then back down through the drive shaft and back to the winch where the wing sheet sits. This can go two ways. This is second gear here, and then if I reverse it, you get first gear, which is a harder gear. These are buttons for the jib and also some wing functions. I've got some little things on here so that I know where my thumb is, so I can look somewhere else and know which button I'm pushing. So these are really important. Every maneuver, every mark rounding, I have to adjust these to adjust the jib.
Nice, eh? And in another video, SailGP has the Inspire program, but they also now have an intern program. Well, they're inviting one young sailor to come embed, I think, Julia is the right word, embed themselves with the team during the regatta and just be a part of the team. And that's going to happen here in San Francisco, too, and I have a bit of news about that after this video.
We're here in Sydney, and for the first time ever, we have one person representing each of the teams here this week, fully integrated into the team, wearing the team colours. And you know, when I heard about this programme, I really wanted to be part of it. They're rubbing shoulders with the likes of Tom Slingsby, Ben Ainsley. You know, they're helping them win, potentially, as a team here at the event.
I've always known about SailGP because I'm a pretty big fanboy of it. I'm a sailor as well, and the first season it came out, I was on Sydney Harbour in a rib watching it. It's been really good. It's so much fun. My highlight was probably sitting down with Flo, the trimmer. He sails a NACRA 17 and I've just started, and he gave me a full big run through showing me videos and what I can do to sail my boat faster, as he's been to the Olympics obviously, and feel like I'm part of the team even though like I'm just a volunteer.
It's absolutely amazing, and I'm doing everything. Like I put foils in, put it in, out, transporting it, put new decking in, rigging, everything pretty much. It is awesome.
I've been sailing for about 10 years. I found about SailGP, came out to watch them in 2019 and fell in love instantly as soon as I saw them. And guess a long-term goal, obviously we all want to be Tom Slingsby, but yeah, I just like to do what I love for a living, and I love nothing more than sailing. So to get an opportunity like this to show me what the higher end of the industry is like is really nice. It's really good.
Yeah, it's been really cool. The Inspire program's been really good and allowed me to hang out with the New Zealand team for this week. And yeah, it's been a great experience to see these boats, to work with the team. It's just better than what I expected, yeah. I knew it was going to be cool, but I didn't know it was going to be this cool.
During practice racing, I got to go out on the chase boat sort of thing, got to see how everything was working. It was really interesting and really cool. And it was really cool to see the boats up and close. And also having good conversations with the boys on the ribs too.
I've been working closely with Anne-Marie. She's been here the last couple of days. She was in the laser as well, so I sort of knew of her, but to finally meet her was really special. Yeah, getting along really well. All the teams are really friendly. And yeah, I don't want to leave the team really. I want to follow the circus as it moves around the world.
Well, I'd love to be doing this full time. So just trying to pick up every single little bit of skills, make as many friends as I can, and just trying to get just fully immersed into it and hopefully come back.
I mean, how cool is that? This intern program.
Yes.
And it will continue here in San Francisco. How do I know? Because the parents of the intern who has, I'm not going to announce names because I don't know if this has been approved or what state this is in, but he has been invited. So I assume it's been approved. The kid of some parents, some people I know from Rhode Island, good friends, called this morning and texted and wanted to know if their son, we could find a place for their son to stay, because the interns, they don't provide them with housing. either the team or Sail GP. And I said, yes, you can. We'll figure out a place for you to stay, probably right here within the Beach Street Yacht Club. If not in the Julia in your guest room downstairs, if we have other visiting firemen, you can sleep on the couch here in the lounge at the Beach Street Yacht Club around the. We'll fix him up.
Yeah.
What a great program, huh?
Yeah.
This intern program. Very cool Sail GP Inspire program. Thanks for the vid. Yeah, and as Gordon Smith says, Stingray, thank you for that. Gordon Smith, engage and inspire, a magical recipe. Stingray sings Sail GP here in San Francisco, March 26, 27 is going to be great fun. I agree. Hi, Andy Armstrong, who's watching, has joined us. Fritz Mueller is a reply there. Yeah, about how John Emmett focuses on the right stuff. Couldn't agree. No, Alex, thank you for that. I'm sure we'll find him a bed here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, and maybe we'll help with some of these other interns because we all think that is such a good program, right?
Absolutely.
Like this segment of our program, we think is such a good segment. Is it correct or croutonic? SOS. Correct or croutonic? SOS means save our ships. Our ship, save our souls. What does it mean? Is that true or not, Julia? That's what SOS stands for. That's why it has become the big international Mayday call. SOS. Correct or croutonic?
Well, that is one of the explanations of it.
It is, but it's not correct. It's croutonic. A lot of people think that the distress signal is an abbreviation for save our souls or save our ship. But in reality, save our souls and save our ship are backronyms.
Oh, that good word.
Good word. And the letters don't actually stand for anything. In fact, the signal isn't even really supposed to be 3 individual letters. It's just a continuous Morse code string of did-it-it, da-da-da, did-it-it, da-da-da, did-it-it, back in the old radio, you had radio, but it was radio telegraphy, all run together with no spaces or full stops. Since 3 dots form the letter S and 3 dashes form an O in International Morse code, as you all know, though the signal came to be called an SOS for the sake of convenience, that connection has led to the letters coming to their own as a visual signal and divorced from Morse code, and those in need of rescue sometimes spell them out on the ground to be seen from above. If we're stuck on an island someplace, you'd put SOS on the beach, right, with rocks. Wouldn't you do that? You're replying to comments about your scarf. Huh?
Yes, right. What was the question?
The question of, forget about that. We're moving on. That's croutonic. And that source, by the way, mentalfloss.com via Ted Ryman. Thank you, Ted, for that, sending that in. Tom Pace has asked Julia regarding the Sail GP at St. Francis. Where was that? I just lost that comment. Tom Pace was asking about protocols around COVID concern. Well, we don't know because we don't know what the yacht club follows very strictly the COVID protocols of the state and the city. State of California, the city of San Francisco. So your guess is as good as ours, Tom, what those will be come Sail G. I mean, if there's another huge, who knows? We could all be back in some kind of although I think that's now behind us.
I do too.
And watching Julia, Dr. John Campbell's report from yesterday, he too says, look, we got to put the past behind us.
I missed his thing last night.
It was good.
Yeah.
What other comments here, Julia? Yeah, it's going to be great fun to watch. Julia, someone asked about your scarf.
Yep, I got it. Bob Schmetter.
Bob Schmetter, New York Yacht Club, is the esteemed Bob Schmetter, who, as Gary said, won the New York Yacht Club medal, which is only awarded when there are well and deserving people.
Yes.
That's a big honor.
Indeed.
Bravo Zulu, Bob. And Julia, you've posted a comment saying, my scarf is a St. Francis. You want to read it, or do I?
St. Francis Yacht Club scarf, which is almost an annual project.
They bring a new scarf every year.
Yeah.
Well, they have to sell.
Yes. And the collection is fine, but
how old is that one?
I don't really know.
How many do you have?
4 or 5.
That's all?
Yeah.
and they bring a new one every year, I would have thought you'd have 30 or 40.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
Not correct, James Bland is saying. The Morse code was easy, long dashes and short dots. As usual, J. Frederick Bland and a bunch of our FOSI are on the project, and they know what's correct in Crutonic. They also probably know what we're going to say in Whiskey Tango Foxtrot here in the D block. I get right to it, Julia, shall we?
Yes.
Now, we opened the show about Groundhog Day a couple days ago, and we'll close with this Groundhog Day 2022, or is it still 2020? Good morning. In the news, cases are surging again. The CDC has changed their recommendations again, and there is a new variant emerging again. Who was the guy in that movie?
I come in.
Bill, come on.
I don't remember his name.
The FOSI will know who that was. Julia, I think you should launch a BSYC scarf line, especially for the 500th show. Well, that's
a good idea.
there isn't much time for that.
No.
You know what day is going to be our 500th show? Bill Murray. Everybody's got it.
Thank you.
Bulger, Taylor, all those Bill Murray, Alex Kent, Bill Murray. Thanks, Baton Rouge, and everybody else. You know what day our 500th show is going to be?
Tuesday.
Talk about Groundhog Day. I mean, preparing these shows. Are we really? 400? Are we? Here we go again. It's going to be March 1st, it looks like. I went through the calendar. It looks like March 1st. But, we could interview. We could, not have a show for some reason.
Yep.
Or we could have an extra show somewhere. So March 1st, though, is looking like the date. All you Brits, this is still getting big news all over the place. If I get through this week, that's kind of how I feel on Fridays. If I get through this week as Prime Minister, I'm going to throw a massive party. I didn't know, has he got a reputation for being a big boozer? Or just a party boy like a whole lot of other of our...
Oh, how can
right?
you say that? Yes.
I mean, our mayor, our mayor, our governor, the mayor of LA have all been seen. What was the Eric Garcetti, the mayor of LA, was at the playoffs between.
Oh yes, he didn't breathe.
He said, yeah, well, I took my mask off so we could take the photo, but I didn't exhale. It was Bill Clinton who was asked about smoking pot back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I did, but I didn't inhale. Yeah, right. And Mayor Garcetti said, well, yeah, I took my mask off, but I held my breath. I did not exhale. Crouton. Anyway, maybe maybe this is what we'll do is have a big party tonight, Julia, at the end of our week. Thanks, Ted Ryman, for that. Thanks to all of you for joining us for this epic show, 493. We won't soon forget this. Nice. Joe Holtzman is saying right on. Alex Kent, fellow Wilmette, Illinois native, along with Tom Siebel and Buzz Blackett. They're all, you go to Chinatown, Peter Taylor's, for a quick turnaround. Well, we don't do anything too quick here.
We don't have any real graphics.
Well, Meg could whip up something. But the point is, it's just tough for us to get through the week to do 2 shows. And then I think we should.
We should do it.
Maybe we will.
One way or the other.
How about a tie? We should have a club tie if we're going to have a club scarf.
If
Okay,
anybody wore a tie.
Pardon?
If anybody's wearing ties.
Well, you thought it was nice. Gary came out of the tie.
Yes, and he looked terrific.
He did. He always did. Gary's as I said, 50 years we've known each other. We figured out today in the pre-show. Okay, Fritz Mueller's, everybody else. Yeah, Gordon Smith, I did get the link about Bezos and his yacht. I just didn't have, we're over 2 hours now, and I didn't have time to shove it into the show. So we will talk about Bezos and his largest yacht in the world. Yeah. And to get it out of the marina in the Netherlands, they're having to take the bridge down because the masts will not go underneath the bridge. We'll talk about that on Tuesday's show. Speaking of which, Julie, at the finish line, you're a witness.
Yes. Be sure to like, follow, and share. But as we spoke about earlier, there's some footage in here that someone would really like to see.
Yeah, so share the link to them. And also go back, as you like to say, and read.
Oh, yes, read that.
Wonderful comments.
Well, yes, absolutely.
And we leave comments open. You're welcome to comment, even in replay. We're one of the very few live shows that do that because our FOSI are so fantastic. Our friends of Sailing Illustrated do not put croutonic things in, and if they do, we'll hear about it or we'll see it ourselves and we will delete them. And it is a one strike and you're out policy, right?
Right.
Somebody puts a croutonnic, no harsh language, no coarse language, no name calling, no personal attacks. And if you do,
Goes away.
we'll nix you. We'll block you forever. We'll assign you to the penalty box and more. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/join/sailing illustrated. Give us a few bucks a month. We appreciate that very much. Julia, any final comments?
No, but I enjoyed today's show. And lots of important things came up.
Well, again, thanks to Gary, thanks to U.S. Sailing, thanks to Rolex.
Yes.
For they're not just their support of the yachts, men and women of the year here and in Canada and in world sailing, and I'm sure in other countries as well, but for all they do for our beloved sport. There's the St. Francis Burgee, there's the Rolex on one of our, because they sponsor the Rolex Big Boat Series here every September at St. Francis Yacht Club, and the Sydney Hobart race and the Middle Sea race, and with all events that we were talking about here. Thanks again. Our hats are off to Rolex as well.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, we hope you have a great rest. Great weekend. And if you're still Friday, the rest of your week, and a great weekend with the ones you love. And come back and see us on Tuesday, same time, same channel. We do this Tuesdays and Fridays at 2000 UTC, which at this time of year is noon on the West Coast. Ciao.